at a certain point, and this can happen again and again, you run out of answers, or you hit what might be called a dead end. This is a video speaking to that dead end and what it means and what it might invite, and how to reframe it from an absolute negativity of I'm stuck to something else is being called for. So, maybe you've been on the path for a long time, maybe you've been on the path for a short time, maybe you have been asking a lot of questions. How to do this? How can I meet this? What should I do about this? What should I practice? What are the methods? Who am I? Why am I carrying so much suffering? What are, an endless series of questions that we have on the human, but also particularly on the spiritual path. And maybe you've reached that point again and again and again and got certain answers, and then those answers have just led to more questions. And so the questioner goes on and on and on with the endlessness of seeking, ultimately. And maybe that seeking, short-term, long-term, has brought you to a place where you're stuck, the dead end. This can be a very profound place, a very demoralizing place, a very confusing place, because you see, what really happens is that most searching is on the linear level. It's on the mind level. It's on the past, present, future level. It's oriented into the psychology of us. So in many ways, it's the self who's seeking relief from the self. A noble endeavour fraught with failure, ultimately. Some healing happens, some understanding, some repair, some softening down of the nervous system, definitely some understanding happens, but it's still really happening on the level of self. So we go along seeking answers, solutions, repair, healing on this trajectory, the trajectory of the linear movement of past, present, future, mind orientation. And that can go on for a year, 2 years, 3 years, or a goddamn eternity. It can go on for a long time, where it seems as though we're getting somewhere. It feels as though we're getting somewhere. And then it dawns on us, or something happens, and we realise that almost we're back to where we started, and actually I'm not really getting anywhere. Dead end. Boomf, stuck. Stuckness on the spiritual path is an invitation, not just a disappointment or a terrible place. Why do I say that? Because the stuckness, the dead end, the end of the road, is inviting something else. It's inviting a movement away from the linear past, present, future mind orientation into something that we might call a lot more vertical, in the sense that it's taking us, inviting us to go deeper within and to live instead of search. To live from this place, and I know I talk about this a lot in my videos, particularly recent ones, but it's to bring clarity to the fact that we can't go on searching forever. At a certain point, the invitation is to live from the dead end, is to live from the place that the mind has reached, such as it is, and to lift the veil on any expectation that false expectation that if we just had another answer, if we just knew the way there or there, then we'd be moving on again. And to bust the illusion of that, and start living from the ragged, tagged, messy, deep, raw place that we're in, the present moment. So it's the end of the seeker, in a sense. We might have to return to this place again and again and again. Invariably we do. But the dead end is an invitation to do that, to go deeper. To live from the unknown. To live from the unknown is not as scary as it sounds, depending on where we're listening from. If you're just listening from the mind's agitation that's always seeking control and understanding so that it can map out a path to go forwards or to go backwards or to go wherever it's going to go. I need to know where we're going so that I can move, is the mind's way of mapping things, which is very useful in certain circumstances, but not useful in this circumstance. And so if we're at that place of the dead end, the brick wall, then we're being invited to let go of the one who needs to map it in order to live, the one who needs to understand in order to be. This is a prerequisite on the deeper spiritual path, is to be able to see that one at least, to see how hooked in we are to the mind that needs to know before it moves, to be prepared to live from the unknownness. This becomes visceral. This becomes non-mental. This becomes not to do with the self. It's not as scary as it sounds, depending on who is listening. If you're listening from mind and mind's agitation and need for certainty, those words are pretty scary. But if these words reach across time and space and enter you in a deeper way, on a deeper level, on a spirit level, on a soul level, on a heart level, it's actually a relief, because you can move in the world with a certain freedom. You can move in the world without it needing to be a certain way, because you've fallen into a deeper level of trust, and I don't really like that word, but trust. You don't need to know to move. You don't need to know to be. You can simply be. And that's the invitation. Now, of course, as you reach the place of the dead end, which can come in many forms in a certain way, and you might be meeting it again and again and again, because it's always got the same invitation to let go of what you know. You've already got it there. Maybe there's nothing left to know on the level of mind. A bit more understanding of this practice or that inquiry, or what, to know a bit more about yourself. Well, if I understood my pattern a little bit more, just a little bit more, if I understood why this is happening just a little bit more, then that would be the doorway. Be careful of that, because it can have a benefit, and it can also be a trap that keeps you on the cycle of analysing yourself. And as you know, with this channel, I'm not against any of that at all. I'm not into the absolute spirituality. I'm into the meeting place spirituality. But also, one has to be cautious around the endless machinations, both of bypassing and of indulgence, because the self is endless. The self is is a constantly mutable series of patterns. We're always moving in patterns, and we have wound ourselves up into patterns. The outcome of a lot of patterning that's developed through karma, childhood, ancestral wounding, ways of protecting ourselves, ways of being in the world that come from a whole series of strategies and behavioural patterns that we adopted when we were young, let alone anything that we've brought into this incarnation. We are that. And so on the level of personality, we're very complex. We're always doing this, always winding around, yeah? And so if we keep looking on the level of the personhood, the personality, we're going to be looking forever. And if we're looking on the level of personality to fix something a little bit more before we're ready, whatever that might mean, then we could be pursuing ourselves and asking the same questions of the personality forever until we depart this existence. And so the invitation is to know thyself, and to know when you reach that dead end, if you reach that dead end of exhaustion, pay attention to that and to go deeper. To pay attention to that and to start asking a different question. Is it possible for me to live just from being? Is it possible to live just from this? Unknown as it is, freaky as it is, sensitive, raw as it is it possible? And to experiment with that, because the experiment with that is what forges us. Instead of constantly looking for the safeguard, at a certain point, to throw away the need for a safeguard. And I don't say that lightly, because we live in delicate times where everybody's, aware of not being wild and keeping boundaries and everything like that, of course. But there also needs to be some wildness in us. There also needs to be some courage, some warrior courage in us. And some of that comes, sorry, it's my dog I'm paying attention to. Some of that comes when we've hit the dead end, we've hit the wall, and we've realized that maybe these questions are exhausting and they could go on forever. And it's time to start living from the unknown. Okay, I've said enough. Bless you.